welcome back to the Ludiverse. I am Jay. I have a guest with us today. Would you care to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Ro, and I work in the adult film industry.
And that is an interesting subject.
I
Yeah,
don't know how else to put it.
well, it's pretty succinct. It's a aspect of the sex work that has been pretty stigmatized over the years. There's a lot of people that think that men, women, people who do adult films are somehow lesser or cheap.
Subhuman is a good
Yeah,
word.
yeah.
I like to. Can I swear, by the way?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, subhuman fuckhole is the words I would use that people treat me occasionally over it. It's a really
That's definitely
sad
extreme.
state of affairs. But it happens in my everyday life that I get stigmatized because of it. Even my family stigmatizes me because of it. Not that I
All right, Courtney's
interact with
mad.
them much, but it's one of those things that it's it's not
Oh, I
going
can't.
to
Hold on,
change until the
Ro.
world becomes a little bit more open. And I
I can't hear
understand.
you.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a very stigmatized field. And I feel it on a daily basis that there are people who make comments. There are people who I'm currently dating right now, so that's always a very tough explanation in the dating sphere to go through.
A lot of people, I've actually heard a lot of people say that they will not date somebody that works in the adult industry because they're worried that like every day they're going to be getting brought home some new disease.
Well, that's actually going to be a little bit more inaccurate than you think. Because you when for example, you work as a fire if you work as a fireman, you wear a protective mask when you go into a house, correct? It is the same with porn. You wear protection. However, if you're not, everyone gets checked. Everyone gets checked thoroughly. You there's in Canada there's an e-health page. It's very easy to get checked here in Canada. You could literally mail your samples in. There are clinics on every corner that you can bring samples into and just drop them off, and you can get checked that pretty much the next day. So, if anything, porn stars are probably the cleanest ones of us all. Like we get checked literally at bare minimum once a month because that's what you do. You stay safe. You make sure that the people that you're performing with are also safe. And it's it's honestly safer than hookup culture, that's for sure.
I agree 100%. I've heard about the restrictions and the policies on getting checked out and testing, but another thing that I've heard in regards to dating adult film stars is the jealousy aspect. Is that something that's come up for you in relationships?
Well, to be honest with you, I just broke up with my longtime poly partner, and it was never really a problem. None of it was ever really a problem because we were already polyamorous. So I already played with people safely outside of our relationship. And it's one of those things that my partner was partially asexual, so it worked out really great. But things didn't work out, and I've moved on a little bit, and I'm back dating now. And there are a lot of people that say very rude things and everyone's really a lot more comfortable with asking me rude questions. based on my profession. And I actually just recently today removed adult film industry from my dating profile because people take it as a green light. People take it as a green light to treat me as someone who they could pay for sex, which I'm not someone they could pay for sex. I'm someone they could pay for videos of sex, and they could pay for perhaps webcam things and whatnot. But they can't just assume that I'm going to be a hooker on a dating site. That's so weird. I'm just a regular person. Like, and it gives them the right to treat me like that, apparently, that I work in this industry. But you know what? In the end, those people, they go home and they look at porn and they wank off and they enjoy themselves and they don't respect all the work that goes behind it. And I honestly wish that more people respected the amount of work that goes into making this performance a realistic, a believable, a sexy, a hot performance, you know? Imagine doing what you do and then being shamed for it every day. It's really quite upsetting, actually.
I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to be in that sort of a situation where you have to deal with that kind of feedback just for doing your job, especially a job that's so high in demand.
Exactly. Did you know that the Hawaiian missile crisis, you remember when there was a false alarm for missiles going to hit Hawaii?
Vaguely.
Okay. Well, there was a sudden spike of people, a 50% spike, says Pornhub, in usage after that emergency alert was made. People went home and wanked to porn in their supposedly last moments. To tell you how important sexual and self-sexual health is. It's really quite incredible to think that a lot of our health habits come from health. But people who really, shame themselves for liking porn and for consuming it, it's really quite sad.
I agree. It's one of the things it's been around for hundreds of years. It'll be around for hundreds of years more because sex is a thing in everyone's life, and
Well, not only that, it's one of the most basic forms of human interaction. Sex is the oldest thing to exist. It literally is, because two very small eukaryotic cells once had sex, I'm sure. And that is how we began. It's the oldest thing, and why it's become such a shameful subject is beyond me.
well, the church had a lot to do with that. Long time ago, the church decided that people who have sex outside of anything outside of these standard limits of what sex is, are bad and sinful and should be ashamed of themselves, and so sex got driven underground. And
I feel like it was an
carried on
unnecessary accident. I feel like it must have been. I feel like someone was screwing around and came up with these ideals, and it must have been at some point. That's the only way. Because what happened to bacchanalian times? Think about it. Like, when did we start ignoring our baser instincts in that case?
Yeah, it started when somebody told us that the baser instincts were bad.
Yeah.
And that's why I have this show. So we can show the world that it's natural, and even if it's not something that society sees as standard, doesn't make it bad. So, when did you get into the adult film industry?
Well, if you want to get real technical, back in college, I was putting myself through college, and it was quite expensive. So I did a little extra model shooting, and it was seedy. I admit. Lingerie shoots are really seedy. It definitely involves someone that is getting off to taking pictures of you versus the pictures themselves. And it probably wasn't safe the venues that I took to acquire said jobs, like Craigslist and whatnot, probably definitely not safe. So I would not recommend ever doing that. But as far as my current position, I just friggin' did it one day. One day, about 4 months ago, I said, look, I already do and I've already done basic photography and video model shoots before. People like what I've got to bring. People like the enthusiasm. People like my acting ability. People really enjoy my extremely crazily long tongue. That's definitely a fetishist wet dream. And I said, you know what? I'm a sexual deviant. I love sex. I love sex and sex is fun. I need a job that I can control my own schedule, that I can control my own cash flow, that I can enjoy myself, that I can also be creative, and I can make people happy. What job better than to work in porn? So I fired up an OnlyFans. I took some of the footage that I already had. I started splicing it together. I started editing it. I started putting it to music. I started, making sure I got some of the shots that needed to be gotten, and I threw some up on Pornhub. I threw some up on OnlyFans, and I started marketing myself.
It's always fun when you can work for yourself.
It's incredibly fun. And I did my research into the local or more local companies, and I'm not interested. Not interested in the least. I do know some local artists though that I have met through the Pornhub community. Pornhub actually has a community Discord and everything, and you can meet a lot of the local creators that way, actually. And it's great because I actually, I'm working on setting up a collaboration with another local artist who has a 3 camera setup. He's got so much better gear than me, but he needs the extra talent as well. So it's one of those things where it'll be a great collab, and it's just something that I threw together off a Pornhub community site. So.
All right. Sounds like you got, if not got it all figured out, you've at least got a grasp on what you want out of it.
I definitely do. And it's so much more common than you think. Women are starting to turn to this as a legitimate profession. And you can see it because you even have things like big stars and YouTubers turning over to OnlyFans to more explicit content. It's becoming a much more common thing, and I'm very, very happy about it.
Speaking of OnlyFans, you get a lot of people who think that women are using OnlyFans to make money and kind of cheat their way through it. It's like instead of getting a real legitimate job, they're just doing OnlyFans so they can sell their body for free money. What exactly is the pay system like through OnlyFans?
All right, so OnlyFans has a very basic pay system. It's got a subscription-based pay system. You can set your subscription to anything. Like you can set it anywhere from like $2 to $200. Well, maybe not 200, but you know what I mean. And then there are tips. You can always tip literally any OnlyFans account you can tip. So that means I could even subscribe and tip to viewers, I believe. But basically, you can also sell actual clips and pictures. So you can sell them in direct messages. So for example, if someone wanted a specific item or for me to do something very specific with my mouth or my face or something, which is actually often the case. Like a lot of people really enjoy the oral aspect of me. And because of that, I am asked to do various tasks with my mouth, such as, suck on a lemon or do this or lick this. And it's one of those things that I can actually send a clip, and before they can open that clip, they have to pay a certain fee that is set by me. And that's something that can actually be put out in mass message too. So if, for example, there was something really lucrative that I wanted to send out, such as perhaps a super, super sexy moment that I think is worth, let's say, $10. And I'll just throw it out there and see if anyone wants to see that sexy moment. And after a while, maybe I'll share it to my, but it's one of those things, it's about exclusivity. And it's about working that exclusivity and working that marketing. So it's not a sit back and do nothing job. You have to, you can't just post pictures and everyone's going to you. It's, you have to market, you have to talk to people, you have to sell. And on top of that, you have to remember to be compassionate because it's a delicate process to play with people's sexual emotions. And each and every one of my fans is very special because they're actual human beings behind the screen. And very few people realize that.
Wise
Sorry if I
words.
ramble, by the way.
No, no, you're fine. I pause just to make sure that I'm not going to cut you off. Of course, every person with an OnlyFans or that does custom material is going to be different about what they offer. What is some of the things that you've been asked yourself or have seen people request as far as custom videos or pictures?
I have had all sorts of requests. I do all sorts of content. I do specialize in oral because I do have a very long tongue and I do very much enjoy. I have an oral fetish myself. So it's one of those things that I mean, my OnlyFans and my Pornhub, they're all about what I like and sharing what I like, which is why the name to my OnlyFans and my Pornhub is what Ro likes because it's I want to share what I like with everyone. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to pay attention to what everyone else likes. So I've been asked to do anything from feet. I do have a fan who really enjoys armpits, and he very much enjoys me doing poses with my arms up. So I do special private video contents for that. See, I do pretty much all the explicit content. I do anal. I do. I do not with women. However, I want to have content with women. I just can't find a girlfriend.
That's a problem that a lot of people have. But
Yeah.
I imagine that it's a little trickier in your case.
It is. It is. For one, most women aren't really cool with their bits being on camera, and two, it's the whole mentality about my people in my profession being filthy. It's something that I have to struggle with every day. But we don't pass any diseases more than people shaking their hands because we're probably the cleanest of the people because we make sure that our sexual health is tip top shape. It's our job. It's like insuring our body, you know? Because if something happens, we're out of work for a little while, you know?
If you were given the offer, would you ever join up with a professional film company like Vivid or Brazzers?
Oh God, that is a tough question because those are big companies. Like those those are nothing to laugh at. Everyone knows who Brazzers is. Like that's like saying if someone asked you to star in an Avengers movie, would you? Like if a big name company asked me to contractually star as an independent contractor, yeah, sure, why not? I don't think I'd ever work for a large corporation though. I don't think I ever will ever again because especially in a field that involves my sexual health. It's definitely my decision what to do with my body, how to look and how to act. So it's not something that I would be appreciative of a company determining.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, because I imagine that once you get to where you're working for yourself and doing it at least mostly successfully, I'm not sure how successful you feel you are, but once you reach a certain point where you feel you're successful enough, going back under somebody else, phrasing, would be quite out of the question.
True. And it's not just about working for somebody else. it's also about happiness in life because I get to edit my own material, because I get to choose which shots I take, and I get to act in it, you know, and I get to enjoy that aspect of it. I don't think I could just, there are some private shoots and webcam sessions where I just show up and I just play and I just model, which is great for money. But there's something about the whole process that allures me, which is why OnlyFans has been so fun for me, you know?
Of all the things that you've done for your videos so far, well, you said that you have your oral fetish.
Yes.
So I imagine that if somebody were to ask what your favorite thing to do for your videos, it would be something involving oral. But is there anything that you've done that wasn't quite as much fun for you, or something that it didn't appeal to you that you don't want to do again?
Yes, yes. I do not really enjoy any scat or urine fetishes, but I have had to do some filming of me peeing, and it was super uncomfortable because I didn't even like people listening to me pee in like public bathrooms. Like I'm like it's the weirdest thing ever. Like I don't mind people like looking up into my damn body, but like I care if people listen to me pee. Like how weird is that? But it's always been a thing that I've always been self-conscious, and it was actually a really hard film because I couldn't, just knowing that the camera was on, I almost couldn't pee. But like it's one of those things where you got to do what you got to do, and it is a simple request. Like that is a fairly non-grotesque simple request to just squat down and pee in the bathtub, you know? It's nothing too kinky or anything, and it's nothing that I definitely would never ever shame anyone of it. It's just something that I almost couldn't bear to do because of my like shy bladder. If that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense. If somebody were trying to get into the adult film industry, be it on an amateur level, kind of where you are, or trying to get in the big businesses, either way, if they went out, they bought a camera, and they set up and they came to you and asked, what is the first thing that I should know about the adult film industry? What would you tell them?
I would say improvisation. Improvisation is probably the most useful tactic when it comes to any media-based industry. For example, you must improvise based on the platforms that you're given during the time that you're given. For example, some big platforms right now are TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Those are things, for example, I am lightly on TikTok, even though I'm not very interested in TikTok, but I have to make that improvisation because it's an app that a lot of people use, and based on the media flow, it's better for me to market myself on there regardless of where else I want to market. So, and then, well, what happens when TikTok goes out and something new replaces it? Well, that's just fine because me, along with many other creators, we improvise. And you have to be willing to improvise and willing to cross platform and branch out and do different things. And that includes with your body. Like, don't be afraid of your feet. Foot porn is a lucrative industry. Lucrative. Everyone loves good feet. And it doesn't take that much to just get a nice little pedicure and, just rub some lotion on your feet. Maybe paint your toenails on camera. Just give a little fanfare. So branch out and do things that you may not be comfortable. Go through and you market yourself on social media.
Sounds like good advice. Aside from the adult film industry, is there any other aspects of kink or fetish lifestyles that interest you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I myself am polyamorous and pansexual. So I'm a very free love type of person. I definitely believe in the need to have multiple partners to fit multiple parts of your life. It's kind of like those people who are at work that are like your work wife and work husband. It's kind of like that. It's honestly they fulfill you in ways that maybe your partner cannot because your partner can't come with you to work. So that is actually kind of a form of polyamory that most people are actually okay with because they think about it and they think of it jokingly, oh he's my work husband. Oh, she's my work wife, you know? But it is quite a close gray area to polyamory, I think.
I never thought about it that way because I'm polyamorous, but I never thought about the close work relationships filling a part of that role.
Well, it makes sense because, some people they work places for 20, 30 years. The people become your family, certain people become your little brother or little sister, but sometimes people just gravitate to work wife, work husband, and it's one of those things where they're two cute people together doing two cute people things and it's okay. And you know what? Although it's a very joking title to have, it's very accurate. Friendships, even platonic friendships, can fulfill you in such a emotionally full way that it makes sense not to spurn them ever.
So that is definitely something to keep in mind. Would make work a little easier sometimes too,
Yeah.
just as long as you maintain the proper boundaries, because it could make work very awkward too if it goes wrong.
Oh, very true. Very true.
And so, on the other end of the spectrum, is there any parts of kink and fetish? Like you've already mentioned that you're not into scat or water sports, but is there anything else that just doesn't strike your fancy at all?
Yes. As I'm a fairly passive person, I'm not really into a lot of blood and gore. I can't really deal with like any harm-based kinks. So anything that involves cutting, slicing, actual beating, harm of any sort in that way, any sort of sharp objects or instruments, things like that. I'm not into no gore bondage or anything like that. I do enjoy regular domination, bondage, DDLG, all that good stuff. I just don't prefer the gore scene myself.
Okay, that's. I mean, I like knives, but aside from that, I'm not really too into like gore aspects of it. So,
Yeah, and to
but
each their own. And like even people who are into gore aspects of it, and I've met quite a few people who are into some really dark things because it's hard to not run into people asking for some really dark things in my profession because I do fetish photo model shoots. So I do things like shibari. I do get tied up. I do come home bruised sometimes from just really, really tough like times being tied up and everything. It's one of those things that I don't mind that at all. I just mind the blood, the gore aspect of it. And yeah, I don't it's a personal preference. I would never consider it a taboo thing. If someone is consenting, I think that they should be allowed to do whatever they feel is right in that certain sexual case. And if that has to do with knives, hey, more power to you.
it's good to hear that you're open to the thoughts of other people liking things you don't like, because even within kink and fetish communities, I've seen evidence of a lot of kink shaming. It's like, yes, I have this list of kinks that I am into, but I will absolutely shame anybody who's into these things. It's just like, if you don't want to be shamed for yours, don't shame them for theirs.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. And it's a fine line between shaming and being funny about it there are some times where you can make jokes about it, but there is a very fine line, and I tend to steer away from making jokes about kinks simply because there's such a fine line, and someone may be hurt, and someone may be a little bit closeted about their kink, and that might not be helping. Uh, in general, in a perfect world, I'd like to see everyone's kinks come out, man. Perfect world right there.
I agree 100%. The show was started because there's so much about kinks that isn't known. Even some of the popular kinks, like BDSM. Almost everyone knows that BDSM exists due to like 50 Shades of Grey. But because of 50 Shades of Grey, they don't really know what it is because that's a bad example.
It's a very bad example. My goodness. Whew. I haven't
But
I have not seen the movie. I have read the book. I did not finish the book. I could not. But yeah, no, it's a pretty poor description of BDSM culture. Literally, there's no mention of any sort of actual BDSM in that book. I'm positive. It's just abuse at that point. Like it's there's not too much respectful fetish in there versus just controlling angry boyfriend, and that somehow not. It's weird.
yeah, but it's like if we can get your average person to understand that what they like that doesn't fall into it's like if people like missionary sex, nobody's going to question that. But like 100 years ago, doggy style sex was a strictly a taboo thing, and now it's commonplace. If you hear somebody say, had sex doggy style, nobody's going to think twice about it.
Right? It's not
Oral,
taboo anymore.
yeah, oral sex is the same thing. It's not something that was ever accepted, and now it's very commonplace. So if we can get those taboos destigmatized, why not the rest of them? Why not let somebody walk, down the street with some shibari ties over their clothes because they feel more comfortable being bound like that? Why can't a furry walk down the street in their fursuit without being, ridiculed?
Well, I know the answer to that one. The answer to that one is that it's too fucking hot.
Well, there is that,
It is
but
too hot in many places. I have been in a fursuit before, my good sir. I have tried on a fursuit, and it was stifling. I gotta give any furry props. I could absolutely 100. I sweat during regular sex normally. How can you possibly have enough stamina to sweat in that fucking thing while having? I gotta give props to the furries on
but it's just it should all be out there. It should be, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't be like peeing on your partner in the middle of the park. That's there are some things that should be kept in the bedroom or
Yeah,
bathroom.
obviously.
But the fact that everything has to be locked so far behind closed doors it's asinine to me. It's not. I don't know where I'm trying to go with this, but it's just. And everyone I've talked to so far has agreed with me that it should be able to be discussed openly.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I think it should be more commonplace for people to be more open about sexual things within platonic relationships. Personally, for example, not outlandish sexual things. I'm just talking like, for example, if I wanted to kiss one of my friends on the lips, could I just do that if I felt like it? Like, I wish that was a regular platonic thing because you love your best friend, right? Just kiss him on the damn lips. Kiss her on the damn lips. If it was more acceptable, I wish it was more acceptable to have platonically sexual relationships and to spread more physical love through your platonic relationships as well.
I agree. I mean, I've kissed friends on the lips in a non-romantic, just like I have affection for you and I'm going to display that now, male and female friends, just because why not?
Exactly. When in this world there's a lot of people, especially men, homophobia is a huge problem. Huge problem in the dating sphere for me. A lot of men do not realize that hugging another man is not going to kill them. That's my personal opinion. But like it's one of those things that there are some really rough people out there with some rough ideas about me and what it means. Oh, I lost whatever I was saying.
Y- Yeah, you get too passionate about what you're saying and it just burns it out.
Yeah, no. Sometimes it just poofs from my mind too. Poof, because fun fact, I'm just terrible. Okay, go on and you can ask me it again, or if I didn't answer properly.
No, everything that I was curious about has pretty well been covered. So, is there anything else that you feel wasn't covered that you think we should go over?
No, I think it was mostly covered. I'm gonna be honest with you. It seemed like it went really well.
Okay. So, you mentioned you had an OnlyFans. You mentioned a couple other social media things. I'm going to go ahead and whatever links you send me, I'll add to the show notes so people can find you and, support your projects through your content. Besides the OnlyFans, what else do you have?
I have Instagram, I have TikTok, I have Snapchat. So if you'd like to get at me on Instagram, it's what row likes, WHATROLIKES. That's same for the OnlyFans and for the Pornhub. As for TikTok, it is also the same. The only thing that is not the same is Live Loud Lots. That is also my personal Snapchat. So if anyone ever needs any help, questions for me, they can always get at me there as well. So
All right. Well, like I said, all those links will be in the show notes, and then you can go enjoy that. So, thank you for being on.
absolutely. I
And
enjoyed myself thoroughly and it was fun being on the show.
well, I enjoyed talking to you as well. If it should happen that you have some major change or you feel that you have something else to contribute, then by all means get in touch with us and we can see about rescheduling another interview.
Absolutely.
All right. So if you like the show, you can go ahead and help support us through Patreon, like Zachary Hale and Larry. Or if you don't have money, you can share the show with your friends. You can rate and review. We have merchandise. You can contact us on Twitter. I've got a Facebook page. So we're not hard to get a hold of. And if you have any questions for the guest, I can get those to her. So until next time, keep communicating, keep each other safe, and remember to have fun. Thank you for listening to the Ludiverse podcast. You can send comments and questions to us on Twitter at LudiverseP. If you like the show, please leave us a rating and review on your podcast app of choice.